Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. What a comeback by Napoli. 4-1 in Poland. Incredible second half display, but really it was meant to be there as well in the first half. I mean, Napoli played well, we had chances, we just didn't have the goal. And we were down at the break. We were down 1-0, but in the second half we came back. It was different in the second half. There was more intensity. Yes, we were playing well in the first half, but in the second half there was more intensity. There was more class from the players, and then we did get two penalties, which turned the game around. And then from there, Napoli played differently. Once we were winning 2-1, the movement of the players, the technique that Napoli was showing at that point was just too much for Legia Warsaw. Let me read some of the comments. Anthony Navarro from the very top wrote quite a few things. Let me just read his whole passage. What a fantastic win. OMG. I'm glad we got 2 goals from open play by Ounas. Goal. OMG. That's 2 OMGs, bro. I'm going to have to give you a yellow card. It's way too many OMGs. You sound like a 13-year-old girl. I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding. We're mates, so I can tease him a bit. Petagna looked awesome today as well. The goal will definitely come soon. Lobotka, awesome job today. Everyone played a part. All togetherness. This is the best Napoli team I've watched, and I thank Spalletti. It's to trust the player feelings. Important, and look at this result. Legia are like a 5th place Serie A team. I don't know if Legia is like a 5th place Serie A team, man. They're struggling to stay up in Poland, but the chemistry of the team is good. Pranav is saying Mertens comes on, scores a Panenka, and creates a goal-scoring opportunities within 5 minutes. Baller. Mertens today was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in the few minutes that he did play. Actually, now that I think of it, I should have probably given him a higher player rating than what I gave him. So you guys might criticize me on that one. Tito Leo Afoa says, so sad I didn't get to watch. Sounds like an awesome game. The second half especially was really awesome. And even the fact that we were losing in the first half, it just contributes to the fact that it was a good game, because it means that it was a game that both teams wanted to win. It was a game that really gave us some problems in the first few minutes, and then the quality of Napoli came through. Blue Line is saying Forza Napoli sempre, what a win. Adam Ounas, what a player, what a goal. Ounas, what a player, says Sofus Koba. Ounas was Ronaldinho for a moment, says ID Beats. Man, the goal by Ounas is spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. That needs to be something that either you have as a player, as a human, or you don't have it. You can't teach that thing to anybody. Either you're born with it or you're not. And we have an absolute baller in this team called Adam Ounas, and it's so nice to see him play in the last few minutes of the game when everybody else is tired, and he just rocks up, does his little thing as if he's playing, street football, and he just brings that spark to the game. And it's something that, as I said, you can't teach it. He's got it, and it's so nice to see him display it because he always had it, but Napoli sent him on loan for a few years, and it's nice that Spalletti sees something in this kid, and hopefully he can start also a few games, even though I do think that with his energy, his accelerations, it's nice to have him on the bench, and he can come on in the last 20 minutes and absolutely destroy defenses. RC Querido saying, great win for our team. We dominated possession, and the lads are always first to try. Are the first to every ball. Great work from Lozano, Petagna, and even Juan Jesus have good through passes today. I loved their performance today. There was some mistakes. For example, I will criticize a few players here and there in my analysis, but I always do. But overall, great performance, great dedication, great desire to go and turn that game around. Honestly, it was so nice. Tito Lea Toleafoa with the 5 New Zealand dollars. I learned my currencies from last time. Thank you so much for your donation, my man. Thanks for supporting the channel. Ciro finally scores. Forza Napoli. That is now Dries Mertens with 136 goals for Napoli, extending himself as Napoli top scorer. And for those of you who don't use social media, those of you who are for some reason not following official Napoli talk on Instagram, you might not know that Dries Mertens is expecting a baby called Ciro, which is what we call Dries Mertens in Napoli, because he's become one of us. He's become Neapolitan, and Ciro is like the most common Neapolitan name, so we call him Ciro. And he's decided to name his son Ciro, which is just such a feel-good story, and he dedicated his goal to that. So just wonderful by Mertens. So nice to see him score. Weirdly enough, I had a dream about Mertens and Giovanni Di Lorenzo last night, says Anthony Navarro. I'm not going to ask what happened in that dream. There is someone who has, I think it's Chinese characters in the name, so I don't know how to pronounce. Help me out, guys. I don't know how to pronounce Chinese names. I mean, if it was spelt with normal, oh, I wouldn't say normal. If it was spelt with Latin letters, then I would know how to say it, but I don't know how to read Chinese. I did take Chinese for 2 years when I lived in Singapore, but I forgot everything. So I took Mandarin. So I'm sorry about that, guys. But he says, Ounas' performance is insane. I don't see much from Elmas as always. Elmas, however, was key for the Napoli penalty, the second Napoli penalty. And then I think that he didn't get the ball the way that maybe Elmas should be getting the ball. He was back to goal a few times. It was an all right performance by Elmas, but I just love this attitude in the second half. You know, even though he didn't show much with the ball, I love the attitude. I loved it. So let's go down to some of the newer comments. Those were the ones at the top. Vincenzo Bertillo is saying Jesus was immaculate. It's almost miraculous how good Jesus is. But for those of you that have been following me since the summer, you'll know that I made a video when Juan Jesus signed for Napoli saying, guys, he is a good player. He's going to be instrumental for Napoli. He can play as a center back. He can play left back. He's quick. He likes to pass the ball forward. And now, we're getting to the point where he's getting into his groove. And we'll see. I don't want to speak too early, but when he does take the place of Koulibaly against Verona, I am not so worried anymore. Obviously, Koulibaly will be a big miss against Verona. But I'm okay going into that game thinking that Juan Jesus is there. Obviously, I'd prefer Koulibaly, but I'm not too worried, if that makes sense. But then, we'll see what happens. Simeone is in great form for Verona, so we'll see how that goes. Daniel Bowen is saying, hope Ounas can stay healthy and play more often. He could be a major impact down the stretch. And I actually think that over the last month that Ounas has been missing, we missed him tremendously, because he was the guy that when you put him on in the second half of games, he would make things happen. I went to see the Leicester game in person a month and a half ago, and Napoli was losing 2-0. Ounas came on. We draw the game 2-2, and even though he didn't score, even though he didn't assist, just the movement that he would do, the way he would tire defenders by his sprinting, and they always had to have an eye out on where he was. It just made them lose their minds, and that's something that then allowed the other players to play better. So it is something that Napoli missed, I think, over the last month. That little bit of unpredictability, that spark that Ounas can bring. Sufus Kobe saying also not a bad performance from Juan Jesus. Yes, Zanoli was a great addition, says Nico Dem XS. Spalletti doing good job in developing young talents. He has given a Primavera player European football. Meanwhile, Gattuso didn't do anything. That's also true. And I like the fact that they are getting a chance, especially Zanoli is getting a chance to show a little bit of his quality every few minutes. He had maybe 10 minutes today. He had 10 minutes in the last game. So it's a steady path to steady but sure path towards one day getting half an hour and then being a starter maybe towards the end of the season if we need to go down that path. And yeah, it's really cool that he does that. Intro Cool, speaking about cool, says, how many did Diego score during his stay at Napoli? 115 goals. Marek Hamsik passed him, and then Ciro Mertens passed Marek Hamsik. And Antonio Tonti is saying, Jesus was divine, Forza Napoli sempre. Let's see. Intro Cool saying, why worry with the Jesus on your side? I mean, guys, I had so many Jesus jokes in my video that I did about Juan Jesus that I you guys can go check out that video if you guys enjoy Jesus jokes. I certainly enjoy them. I certainly enjoyed Jesus's performance today. He was able to turn that water into wine, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic what he did on the field today. Visavi is saying, we did a poll in the Discord, and despite the fact that the game was won already, people all voted for Ounas' goal as the one that they loved the most, and justifiably so. Visavius is an admin on the Napoli Discord. Guys, underneath every video, I've got a link to the Napoli Discord because it's a great community. I'm not so much into it, but when I first started, and I had a bit more time outside of my YouTube life, I was a bit more on there. There's some great guys. They speak about Napoli 24/7. They have polls. They have chats during the game. They have everything in there. And then they come on here. So it's a lot of the same guys that are on the chat here. So if you guys want to talk a bit more about Napoli, then go check out the Discord. But also go check out my other social media, which is Napoli Talk on Twitter and official Napoli Talk on Instagram. And there's 74 of you, but only 37 likes. So I think I'll just stop for a bit and wait for some of you to put a bit of a like on this video. So I won't continue until that number grows. I'm just gonna watch it for a while. Just gonna sit. I have all day. So I'm just gonna sit here. There we go. Nice. I think you guys got the message. Thoughts on Ounas' performance outside the goal? Ounas was great. I love Ounas. He's so unpredictable. He brings that spark. And then the goal. I mean, can you even talk about his performance outside of the goal when you score a goal like that? That goal is spectacular. Just spectacular. Let's see some of the other comments. Tito Leafo is saying Elmas is a better as an impact player right now. Yeah, yes and no, because he scored within 12 seconds of the game against Spartak Moscow when he started in the Europa League. I think Elmas still hasn't found the right position for himself at Napoli. So I feel like it's easier for a player that hasn't really found his position. I feel like it's easier in the second half because the players around you are more tired. You're able to cover more distances compared to them. Everything is a bit less tight. The defenses are stretched out. So I feel like in those cases, players, even though they're not in their correct position, they can still do a bit more. When you start, then everything's a bit more careful, a bit more tight, and it's harder. I think Elmas is still not being played in the right position, and I think it's shown by the fact that today he was on the left. Other times he's played as a number 10. Other times, he did play as a midfielder. So where does Elmas play? I personally think that Elmas is a great number 10, but we've got Zielinski and Mertens in there, and the way that Napoli plays sometimes doesn't quite, the way we give him the ball doesn't quite suit him. We give him the ball where he's too much back to goal. I think that maybe he needs to be receiving the ball when he's a bit more facing the goal, because he's so good at that one-on-one. Maybe on the left as well, but he needs to maybe start from the left and then cut inside, not necessarily with the ball, but be able to roam on the inside, which is how we scored the goal against Salernitana. He came on the left, but then he roamed without the ball on the inside, and then he played that 1-2 with Petagna and Zielinski. So that's what he does. Anyways, let's go to the analysis of the game, guys. So I think in the first 5 minutes, Legia, as I said, super organized team in the first 5 minutes, and they basically said to Napoli, you can have the ball, we'll just defend in these two lines and we won't move no matter what happens. And Napoli was not too good in the first 5 minutes of figuring out how to break that down. So let's go over the issue here. So we've got them staying in formation and they don't attack Koulibaly, right? So because they don't attack Koulibaly, they're able to cover Elmas, Petagna and Zielinski pretty well. And it's an 8 versus 3 situation. And, Koulibaly doesn't really have too many options here. And that's where I think the players around Koulibaly should have done a better job. You should have had Juan Jesus going further down the field. That way they would have stretched out the Legia midfielder and defense. When you stretch them out, then maybe Elmas could have benefited from one of the pockets that's created. But Juan Jesus stayed still, and maybe that's because it's the first 5 minutes. You want to be quite compact. But you've also had the problem where Anguissa and Demme maybe we're still getting to know each other a little bit. They haven't played too much together, and they were oftentimes in the first 5 minutes in the same line of passage. So, and that line of passage is, for the record, blocked by a Legia player. So they were both useless in that situation. What I think they should have done was that Anguissa should have moved out of the shadow of that Legia player, moved diagonally towards Koulibaly. It would have dragged a Legia player forward, and then in that pocket of space, that's where Demme should have then gone into. Then Anguissa could have passed the ball to Demme in between the lines, and then it would have opened up opportunities for Zielinski, Elmas and Petagna ahead of him, and that would have been even easier with Juan Jesus down the left, stretching this back line even more. So difficult in the first 5 minutes. Napoli didn't do this, but 5 minutes later, everything is different. Napoli started to understand how to play, and you have situations now where Demme and Anguissa are no longer playing one right next to the other, but you've got one more forward than the other. You've got Demme coming forward, and that drags the Legia player out of his position, so you can see that he's not on the straight line anymore. The lines now become a semicircle, and when that happens, all of a sudden, it frees up Lozano behind them, because it's much easier to play that pass in that way than if Legia are in a straight line, because obviously his eyes are more on Demme than on Lozano. And then that's how actually Napoli, what Napoli did. They got the ball to Lozano. Ultimately, that's also how Napoli conceded the goal, because then Lozano lost the ball and Legia countered. But that's a separate story. This is more about how Napoli reorganized their midfield in order to get past that line of Legia midfielders. Let me read some of the comments, because you guys, I don't know, why is there so much booty in my comments section? What's going on? What's going on with all the booty emojis? Let's see. I wanna understand where that started. Let's see. Someone says, Napoli talk. Who has the best trim in the Napoli squad? I nominate Zielinski. Who has the best haircut? I don't know. I'm gonna go with Koulibaly, bald. And then someone says, Cleto, dude, we're talking about football, not haircuts and butts. I mean, you guys talk about what you want in the chat. To be honest, you guys go off on your own little things there. So yeah, I mean, I might have to do a video on who has the best haircut in the Napoli squad. Is that what you guys want? I mean, I'm trying to make content that you guys like. If you guys want me to talk about haircuts, I can do that. You know, there's some barbers on the Napoli Twitter. The Rafs and Rafs are barbers. I'm gonna get their opinion on it. Who's got the best trim? You know, you want the video? I'll give you the video, guys. But let's go back to the football. Carl Romero says, I agree, but we have to take this good performance with a grain of salt. This wasn't against Leicester or another high-level team. We still have yet to see him get many minutes in the league. I think he is talking, I don't know which player he's talking about, but I generally agree with the comment that Legia are not a great team. So we do need to take it with a pinch of salt, this result. But you know what I did love about this performance? I love the fact that we were 1-0 down and we came back and won 4-1 in a tournament where, guys, I mean, let me switch to my big head. Guys, let's be honest here. How many of us would have been on that field today, 1-0 down, and thinking, you know what, we tried, but actually we're losing the game. It's going to take a lot of energy to turn this game around. Why don't we just focus on the league instead? And, you know, the Europa League, yeah, it was fun while it lasted, but at the end of the day, we just want to win the league. This team, with Spalletti as a coach, said, no. No, we're not focusing just on the league. We're also focusing on the Europa League. Even if it means that we have to spend precious energy coming from behind. And that's what I loved it, because it's so easy to say before the game that we care about the Europa League. And then, you know, you play against some bad team and you score 1 or 2 goals. And it's like, oh yeah, I told you we cared about the Europa League. And another thing is saying, we care about the Europa League, you go behind, and then you spend the energy to come back from behind. That's when you really prove that, okay, you know what, we actually do care about the Europa League. So I love that about it, because it proves, it's proof, in my opinion. Anyways, let's go forward. So Lozano here takes the ball. He runs straight into the Legia players. They then kick the ball all the way up, and Rahmani does a really bad mistake, which is he lets the ball bounce. And that is like a cardinal sin of a central defender, is allowing the ball to bounce. You want to try to deal with that as soon as possible, because the more you let it bounce, so many things happen. Number 1, the ball is getting closer and closer to the goal. Number 2, all of a sudden, if the ball's coming to you, and instead of heading it away, you let it bounce, all of a sudden you have to turn around, and now you're not facing the field anymore, you're facing behind. You've got your back to all your teammates, and you've got someone running down your back, and you either have to rely on your own skill, put the ball out of play, or your goalkeeper. And that's always going to be dangerous, and it's more dangerous to deal with a ball that's bouncing than one that's in the air. Now, as I said, you have 3 options. You know, do a skill, put the ball out of play, or pass it back to your goalkeeper. And what Rahmani decides to do is that he decides to take a touch and then put the ball out of play. So he does this. He takes the touch, goes to the corner flag, and then puts the ball out of play. Now, my question is, would this have been the case if Ospina was in goal? Is it a matter that Rahmani did not trust Meret enough with his feet? Because it would have been he wouldn't have been able to do a clean pass. The ball's bouncing, so he would have had to sort of lob it to Meret. Is it a fact that he didn't trust Meret? Or would he have done the same thing if Ospina was in goal? We don't know. I am just putting it out there. I am just noticing things and putting it out there, and then you guys can comment on whether you think the goal could have been avoided, because it's from the throw-in that then Legia score the goal. Judon is saying buon lavoro e buona serata, qualche volta anche in italiano o sottotitoli, grazie. So he's saying, first, good work and good evening. Sometimes also a bit in Italian or with subtitles. Ok, I'm gonna respond to him in Italian for 2 seconds. Allora, io prima ho provato a fare video con i sottotitoli in italiano, però metterti a tradurre un'ora di diretta è un po' complicato, quindi pensa che io quando facevo i video di 5-10 minuti ci mettevo un'ora e mezza a fare i sottotitoli, perché quelli automaticamente generati da Google fanno schifo, quindi mi sono dovuto mettere io manualmente a fare le cose, quindi puoi immaginare per un video di un'ora è un po' esagerato, ci metterei tutta giornata a farlo, quindi yes, the people are saying that I do this too much when I speak Italian, but I might do every once in a while some collab with maybe an Italian content creator, and who knows, maybe I might do a few more videos in Italian, and then those ones I'll subtitle it with some English, but they're gonna have to be some short videos, because I was explaining that I used to put subtitles in Italian in my videos, but for every 5 minutes of subtitles it would take me 1 hour to write them down, because Google Translate was horrible. So anyways. And he says, you're right, but you could dedicate 5 minutes to us. You know what? I'll have ci penso. It's hard to flip between languages, because I don't know when do I do that at the end of the stream? Do I do it at the start? Do I just start talking Italian in the middle, and then the French are gonna want me to speak French, and then the Spanish are gonna want me to speak Spanish, and then it's like, where do we draw the line, guys? Where do we draw the line? Napoli talk, start talking in Italian and wait till you drive your viewers away. No, I hope not. But anyways, let's move on. So Rahmani does this. They take a throw-in, and I hate to blame Lozano. But over here, he is caught ball watching. Complete ball watching. Look at his face. He's looking at the ball. He's not looking at the player behind him. The guy behind him, he's got the highway behind Lozano's back. So they play the ball. Lozano is still just watching. To be fair, it's a good goal. I would have also liked to be that close to a nice goal and just watch, but Lozano's meant to be running after his guy. And guys, I love Lozano. I love him, but his defensive awareness is none. At zero. And I'm being nice by only highlighting this occasion here, because we conceded a goal and I have to talk about it. But throughout the game and throughout many Napoli games, he gets caught ball watching so often. I sometimes pray that the other team doesn't notice that Lozano's watching the ball and not the men that are behind him. So he needs to improve on this, for sure. Anyways, they play the ball down the channel, and we've got this really ineffective 5 versus 3 where it's overloaded, and it leaves a Legia player completely free at the edge of the box. He makes the run into the box, and he's the guy that then receives the ball for the goal. I think maybe we could have done a bit better. Mihail Davidkov is saying, Lozano is an attacker. He doesn't know what to do when he's in defense. Don't blame him. No, No, because you've got to improve. It's like saying a right back doesn't know how to attack, so don't blame him for bad crosses. You have to be a complete player, and if you're a liability in defense, that's a problem, especially in the Italian league, for example. In the Premier League, he can get away with this 100%, because look, in the Premier League, everyone, if you're an attacker, you attack, and there's less of a rigid structure. But in Serie A, especially, teams take advantage of that. The Serie A is so tactical. You've got to be in the right position. You've got to watch the people that are making the right runs. It's a bit like chess, and if you don't know what move you're doing, then you're going to lose at chess. You can't just be reacting. You have to know what you're doing. At least he scored today. And I did like his desire. So he's got those things going for him, But if he improves defensively, then I would appreciate that a lot, because I compare it to Lorenzo Insigne, who defensively is on top every time. This doesn't happen with Insigne, for example. Right, let's get to the opportunity that Zielinski had, where he hit the crossbar, and then the ball bounced back, and he got the rebound, and it also went over the crossbar. And at that point, you're thinking, that's not Napoli's night, is it? That's not Napoli's night. And we had a few other attacks here and there in the first half, but in the end, it generally ended up being, half chances, let's say. And it finished 1-0 in the first half. Let me read some of the comments, guys. Anthony Navarro say, I'll stay only for Italian and English. I don't understand anything else. Painful Moose is saying, don't do everything. I think your niche is doing Serie A Napoli content for English speaker viewers. There's already many Italian channels that cover Serie A in Italian. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking there's so many nice channels. Caffè Napoli, 1926. There's obviously all the radios that talk about, in Italy, that talk about Napoli. So I was thinking, I think we need to do something for the English fans, English-speaking fans as well. When I make it as a YouTuber full-time, then I can do 10 different channels in 10 different languages and just repeat these videos in different languages. But for now, guys, YouTube's not my main hustle. I am an engineer, and this is just something that I have a few hours a week to do. I'm not a YouTuber. So I know that a lot of you guys, I'm going to open this parenthesis. A lot of you guys want me to do more videos, previews, talking about this and this and that. And it's tough. The time, there's only 24 hours in a day. If you're not a full-blown content creator, it's very hard to dedicate more than 2 videos a week to YouTube. One day, maybe. One day. Daniel Bowen is with the €10 donation. Thank you, my man, for supporting the channel as always. Very much appreciated. He's asking, is Zielinski getting back to form? I think so. Apart from, the penalty and this and that, he's finding himself in the right positions again. And that's the first step to then being, a game changer. So when he scored the goal against Salernitana, a lot of people saying that's a scruffy goal. Okay, but you got to be in the right position. You got to control the ball the right way. You've got to react the right way. You've got to take the shot first time the right way. Here as well, you got to first time shot, hitting the crossbar, that's not easy. Being the first to react, getting the second shot. The fact that he's reacting, being in the right place at the right time, that's already showing an increased level of fitness. Because I talked about it in a different video, but what does it mean when a player is not fit? What does it mean when a coach says a player is not 100%? It means he's missing that. It doesn't mean that he can only run 70% of the game. That's not necessarily it. Sometimes he's missing that half a second compared to what he used to be able to do. He takes that much longer to think about something. it doesn't come naturally to him because he's been sidelined for so long, or because his fitness not at a 100%, he takes a bit more time to get to the right position on the field, so he's not there where the ball lands, where normally a player like Zielinski would be, because he can sniff where the ball's going to be. But if you're not fit, you're going to get there half a second late, and that's the difference between getting your shot blocked or a defender getting your shot and you getting a clean shot on target. That's what fitness means at this level. We're talking about half a second difference, but it makes the difference. And we're seeing that with Zielinski now. First to the ball every time, in the right position. So I think that yes, he is getting back into fitness, and these 2 goals will have definitely improved his confidence as well. Francesco Pinelli saying, I feel that Dom sometimes have to miss Napoli's matches because of work, and you're already doing an incredible job doing these lives and getting interviews while working. Such an important job. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. A lot of it is not necessarily obvious for people that watch, but there is a lot of work and preparation that has to go behind these videos, and I appreciate it that you guys are smashing the like button and enjoying the content, because it is I put a bit of effort into it. So Navin Baleko saying, when we will win the Europa, we will be considered the best Italian team right now, at least. Yeah, for sure. I think so. I think that if you win a European trophy, you're definitely already a top 10 team in Europe, even if it's the Europa League. I rate the Europa League winners probably, as top 5-7 team, no matter who that team is, because you've proven it in such a difficult competition. I do think that we would be the best Italian team, unless an Italian team wins the Champions League. And if we don't finish first, then maybe people could say we're not the best Italian team. But hey, let's see. So let me go on with the analysis of the games of the game. So Legia, as soon as the second half started, had an incredible opportunity where this ball is launched forward, and as I said, I didn't want to highlight Lozano. I didn't, all right? But who's meant to be marking that guy? For me, it's Lozano. And Lozano is, look at his body position. It's all the defenders have their bodies turned 45 degrees, ready to make a run. They've got, their bodies are facing one way and their head is facing the other. They're looking at the ball with their heads, but they're ready to sprint. Lozano is just standing there straight, just looking at the ball. His body posture is not showing any sort of readiness to go and attack the space where the ball's going to land. That's my problem with Lozano defensively. And you can say he's a striker, so he doesn't need to worry about this. Wrong. It's a liability to have that. So obviously, this guy gets a whole highway to run into. Di Lorenzo has to then cover, and Di Lorenzo was marking someone before, so he has to get away from that marker. He has to go and cover. And the guy's but by the time he gets there, it's a bit late. So the Legia player pulls it back. They hit the post. It goes back to another Legia player, and then somehow they don't score. They put the ball over the bar. But it's risky. It's risky, and it's just because of the fact that we weren't putting enough pressure on the guy with the ball that made the cross. And again, is it because of Lozano? I don't know. So yeah. Anyways, then Napoli finally score. And that's because we had a bit more movement in the second half. We had a bit more determination. We were following much better. So we see here Juan Jesus with the throw. Petagna against 2 players. That's why he's so important. Against 2 players. Nudges the ball over to Elmas, who runs into the space. Elmas attracts a few players, passes it on to Zielinski. Zielinski gets fouled, and it's a clear penalty. And then he scores. And, you know, at that point, then it was downhill from there for Napoli. Fabrizio Landria, hi Dom, what do you think about Zanoli and Ounas today? Ciao Fabrizio. So I think Zanoli did good. He interacted quite well with, for example, Ounas and Juan Jesus. And I think for the Ounas goal, it started a bit with Zanoli. Ounas today was incredible. The way he attacks, the way he's so unpredictable, and the goal was fantastic. Just natural quality. And this is the second goal. I loved Juan Jesus today. I loved it. He was there for the first goal with the throw-in. And then for the second goal, he's the guy that recovers the ball. He steps up, he recovers the ball, and then he continues his run. He takes control of the ball, and then he passes it himself to, I think this is, who's playing up there? Is it Petagna? It's Petagna. Plays it to Petagna. Petagna plays it down to Politano, and then Politano gets a penalty after the ball goes up in the air a few seconds later. And Dries Mertens, who had just come on, makes a beautiful goal. Beautiful goal. Panenka sends the keeper the other way. Only Mertens would do this. When the score is 1-1, only he would try something like that. And then this is the third goal, and I love the movement here. So I'm gonna now say Chucky did a good thing, so that people don't say, "Oh, you hate Chucky Lozano." I don't. I really don't. I want him to do well. And I think here he did well. He comes all the way back. He collects the ball. He then sends it to Rahmani. A few seconds later, Petagna comes and he collects the ball and he sends it to Anguissa. Mertens makes a run and drags a midfielder with him. Giovanni Di Lorenzo, doing that, comes into the open space between Mertens and Petagna, because again Petagna came back, and so he's dragging someone. Mertens is dragging someone. There's a pocket of space for Di Lorenzo. Then Mertens comes out of that position, and he comes closer to Anguissa, and Petagna goes wide, and they create this triangle, and there's this constant movement between Petagna, Di Lorenzo, Mertens in the build-up of the goal, which is fantastic. Mertens sends it to Politano, and then as soon as he sends the ball to Politano, he makes the run once again towards the empty pocket of space that is there because the midfielder has to focus on Giovanni Di Lorenzo. And Giovanni Di Lorenzo is in the perfect position. He understands that this is where he needs to be because he's got Petagna and Politano occupying his position. The ball goes to Anguissa. Anguissa first time to Mertens, and then Mertens lobs it over to Petagna, who understands this is my moment now to make the run. And he's through on goal. And I love this from Petagna because he's a left-footed player. He can easily take a shot, curl it into the goal, but he understands that Lozano is in a better position. He takes, as a striker, it must be so hard for him to do this, but he passes the ball for Lozano, and Lozano, for him, it's a tap-in. And it's just a beautiful goal. And then the fourth one is spectacular by Adam Ounas. He sombreros the Legia defender, and then on his weak foot volleys it into the goal. I scored a few of those in my time, but it's always nice to see someone else do it as well. I love this goal. I absolutely love it. It's so smooth. Just the way that he decides to do this. Yeah, he's got football in his veins. And I hope that he's allowed to just express himself on the field. I hope he never gets too bogged down in the tactics, and I hope Spalletti is able to always just release him and say, just do your thing, and not worry too much about tactics. Just focus on creativity, because a player like him is special and deserves that. Let's see. Canahun Flame is saying Ounas had 1 goal, 2 shots, and 11 out of 11 passes in 8 minutes. If he played 80 minutes, he would have been on pace for 10 goals, 20 shots, 110 out of 110 passes. Basic maths proves that Ounas is the best player in the world. Okay. You've got me convinced. You know, as I said, as an engineer, I love maths, so the stats don't lie. So you've got me convinced, 100%. So that is how the game ended for Napoli, with a 4-1. And guys, the stats are mind-boggling. So obviously we've got the 4 goals, and I'm not able to interact with this window for some reason. Let me see. Yeah, let's see. Let's go to our game here. Right, the stats. We've got 11 shots on target against 1 from Legia. Obviously, Napoli is a team that 1 shot on target that they concede is going to be a goal. Possession, 71%. That's one of the highest I've seen this year. More than 2.5 times the amount of passes. Pass accuracy, 91%. And you know what? That's not even... I sometimes don't like when it's over 86, 87, because it means you didn't try too much to do risky passes. But in this case, it wasn't even that. It was just that we dominated the midfield in an unbelievable way. And yeah, just complete dominance. Leicester and Spartak are tying now. But this is how the group is after the Napoli game, not considering what Leicester and Spartak will do. We've got 7 points with a goal difference of 5. Legia 4 with a goal difference of -4. And let's hope and see. Let's see what Leicester and Spartak do. I think a draw would be nice. I want to be able to go to Moscow and host Leicester, where 2 draws are going to be fine. So if they draw here, then I think that's going to be okay, because 2 more draws I think would be okay for us. 9 points. I don't see Legia getting above 9 points. Scoring 6 in their last 2 games. I think we'd be okay with 2 more draws to finish first. So yeah. I hope that, but only if Leicester and Spartak draw today. These are our next games. We've got Verona on Sunday. Then we've got Inter, but only after the break. So there's a 2-week break. And then we've got Inter. We need to make sure that we beat Verona. 100%, guys, because the same time... the same weekend, this weekend, we've got Inter Milan or Milan Inter. I can't remember which one it is, but either the 2nd or 3rd place team will drop points, or maybe both. And we have to capitalize. We have to put a bit of a pillow, a cushion, a gap, whatever you want to say. We got to put something between us and them before we go against Inter. All right? We need to, if we can go against Inter with a 3-point lead over Milan, or an even larger lead against Inter, it will make that game so much more, it's so much easier mentally for Napoli. But if we don't win, and let's say Milan win against Inter, then they'll be 2 points ahead of us, and then we are going to play against Inter away from home with Milan 2 points ahead. That would be too much. Or it's not too much, but that's not an ideal situation for us anymore. So not ideal. Francesco Pinelli is saying biscotto con l'Ester casomai. So biscotto, for those of you that don't know, it means like biscuit in Italian, but it's what 2 teams do in a group stage when a draw is good enough for them to both pass. So they basically just, play a 0-0 or a 1-1 or a 2-2, whatever they need. And then it doesn't matter what the other teams do, because they know that if they both draw, then it's fine. And there's this like mutual understanding between the teams. I think it was Sweden and... Who was it? Sweden and Denmark that did it against Italy in like 2004. In the Euro of 2004, where they drew 2-2, and that was the only result that would see them pass ahead of Italy in the group. And obviously the two nations that are like super close with each other got a 2-2, so super fixed. But yeah, so he's saying, should we do the same with Leicester? Maybe, but I'm sure Leicester will want to be first, because there's a difference nowadays between who's first and who's second. If you're second, you have to play an extra round. So I think nobody wants to do that. Right, player ratings. I gave everybody a 7. And then I gave 6.5 to the subs that had a bit less of an impact. So Lobotka, Zanoli and Politano, because they had less of an impact than Mertens and Ounas. But I didn't want to give anyone too high of a rating because the first half was pretty poor, and I think a 7 is still a good result. And in fact, for a lot of these players, they probably deserve the 6.5 in terms of what they showed on the field. But what I wanted to reward was the second half performance, the reaction, the desire to turn it around. It would have been very easy to just say, oh, okay, 1-0 first half. Let's just focus on the Serie A. Instead, they came back. And that's why I'm giving Spalletti an 8. That's because he is the guy that made the subs that changed the games. He's the guy that told them in the dressing room, yo, we've got to turn this thing around. What are you guys doing? And yes, I'm giving Rahmani and Meret a 6 because of the first goal that we conceded. That's just it. Just because of that. Rahmani should have passed it to Meret, is my opinion. I think he screwed up big time. It allowed Legia their one opportunity to score. Other than that, he didn't really do anything too spectacular or too bad. So, guys, a 6 is not a bad result. A 6 is average. He had an average game. 6 out of 10 in... Like a 5 is bad. But like a 6 is like average, 6 out of 10, you pass. 5 is like, okay, you didn't really do enough to pass. But Rahmani pass. He had one tiny mistake. That's why he's not getting higher than that. And Meret a 6 because... one shot on target and you concede the goal. Come on. I mean, I know it can be unlucky, but come on. And then I believe that the reason why Rahmani messed up is due to Meret not being confident enough with the ball, and the players around him feel that, and so they don't pass him the ball. And that's a mistake from Meret, really. He needs to show more confidence. He needs to improve on that more. So that's why he's getting a 6, but nothing too major that it's like, okay, like horrible game. No, not a horrible game, just average. So that's what I think of that. Let's see what you guys think. T. Toleafo is saying, I don't think we have the pockets to buy Angelino, even if we sell Mairui. Angelino would be such a good player for us because he plays for... he used to play for Man City. Now he's playing in Germany. For Leipzig, and he's a very good left back, very good, very technical player. I like him. Mairou is playing well. Let's see how Juan Jesus continues the season, and if Gulam can as well, and if Zanoli can do something there as well. I think we do have options at left back now. Maybe not to the level of Angelino, but let's see. Let's see how the players develop. Anthony is saying they don't want to pass to him, and when they do, they sprint back to him to recover in case. Exactly my point. Kanuhan saying Elma should be 6.5. He shouldn't be at the level of Zielinski, who won and scored a penalty. So yeah, this is like a nice. I said it earlier in the chat. This is nice towards a few players, giving them a 7, because I sometimes reserve a 7 for like a really good performance. But what I did like about Elmas was his contribution for the first goal to give us the penalty, and I think that that's always the hardest goal to score. So I'm always gonna, for the players that contribute for the first goal, I'm always gonna have them in a bit of a higher regard, because that's when it's the toughest to score. And I still liked his energy, I still liked his dedication, and as I said, it's probably deserved a 6.5, but I didn't feel right to put a 6.5 on him and everybody else a 7 for the turnaround that they did in the second half. Is Osimhen going to play against Verona, says Anthony Giampaolo? Potentially. We don't know exactly yet, but I think they will try to make him play. I think they might start him on the bench. It's one of those things that if it was Napoli-Inter, or if it was Napoli-Milan, Osimhen would have started. Because it's Verona, and Verona's a good team, but because it's Verona, and then we have Inter, maybe they won't start him. Maybe. But I don't know. Let's see what Spalletti has to say, guys, and then I'm off to have some dinner. So they asked Spalletti, did you receive a good response from the team after halftime? And he said, yes, this is a team that is able to also play in very difficult stadiums. It's a team that knows how to adapt itself. It's it's not just a team that plays when the conditions are perfect. It was a great response in terms of quality, but also in terms of disponibilità, like how willing they were to sacrifice themselves for the team. The game today was a bit of a mess with the goal that they scored, or it was becoming a bit of a mess. And we messed up basically everything in that goal. But in the second half, the quality of the players came through, and even those that came on as a sub helped out a lot. And once again, those players that only play for 20 minutes are game changers. Let's see some of the comments before I move on with Spalletti's press conference. Francesco Pinelli is saying, I hope he doesn't, but I think ADL De Laurentiis will cash in on him, on Osimhen. Listen, if an offer of 100 million comes, then I think De Laurentiis has the right to sit down at the table and at least listen, but it has to be at least 100 million, at least. And that's Osimhen's current form. But if Osimhen scores 30 goals today or this season, then we're talking 130, 140. I'm not against selling any player. It just has to be at the right price. It has to be at the right price. If you want Koulibaly, fine, take him. 80 million minimum. You want Osimhen, fine, take him. 100 million minimum. You want Fabian, take him. 50 million minimum. I'm not gonna try to. If I was president, I wouldn't hold anyone behind. I wouldn't hold anyone back. You have to use the money, to improve facilities, to buy more players. But it has to be at the right price, and De Laurentiis is good at that, so I'm not worried. Francesco's talking about Fabian. Yeah, 50 million for Fabian, and then we can talk. Let's see. Let's continue with Spalletti. He says, So they ask him, are these players aware that they can challenge at every competition? And he says, I talk to the players a lot. I put a lot of things in their head. We have some weaknesses that we have to improve on. And even those players that remained at home today need to push, and they need to feel involved with the team. If there's anyone that is missing, then because there were a lot of people missing, we nonetheless gave a good response, and this is amazing for Napoli, showing that we can come here and win even with some players missing. And it's, this season's been such an adventure. About Zielinski and Mertens, they played well. They got what they deserved. They each scored a penalty in a situation that wasn't easy. These players are not shy, and they have a lot of strength and determination. This is a competition that will become beautiful, and it's one that I want to play in. We have to come out on top, not ahead. I love this phrase. We have to come out on top, not ahead of your teammate, but alongside your teammate. That's beautiful. So we need to win as a team. That's the most important thing. It's not about getting minutes ahead of the other guy. It's not about who's taking the penalty. There's a lot of comments about whether Osimhen should take the penalty instead of Insigne, whether Insigne should take the penalty. It's not about that, guys. It's not about who comes out on top between the players. It's about Napoli coming out on top and the players side by side coming up on top. So I love that from Spalletti. That's how it should be. Wow, what a phrase. What a phrase. I love how this man speaks, honestly. And then they asked him about Petagna, and they said he's very different from Mertens. With him, you have to give him the ball in person, whereas with Mertens, it's a bit more difficult to play him as the central striker. Petagna is able to have the team come up, and he had a great game. So I think it's clear from this passage that Spalletti is saying, I don't think I can play Mertens as a central striker for the way that this Napoli team plays. I prefer having Petagna and then Mertens being the guy that plays alongside or behind Petagna or whoever is the central striker. So that's interesting. Maybe when Osimhen is going to miss a few games for the African Cup of Nations, we might see Petagna being a substitute instead of Mertens, which is what most people would have thought. And then they ask him about what do you think of Legia, and he says they were super determined after their change of coach, and I'm sure that this team will pick themselves up in the league, and good luck to them. So let's see some of the comments before we close this off. Anthony Giampaolo is saying, my issue with Ruiz's crosses are really inconsistent. Goulam places quality crosses. That's true. Goulam is a much better crosser of the ball, and we need to see a bit more from Mairui. Mairui, I think, has really good passes, forward passes into the space, but that's a different... Forward pass into the space is a different technique than whipping it across the goal. And he does need to improve on that one for sure. And Osimhen could benefit from an improved crossing from Mairui. This year's a big opportunity for Spalletti. Everyone says he's an eternal second, one who can't win. Well, we will see about that. You're right. You are right, Antonio. You're right. Yes, Spalletti prefers a target man type striker for how his team plays, says T. Toleafoa. Yeah, it seems clear to me. We really struggled when we had Mertens playing in the last game as the striker. It just didn't really work. I think for the way that Napoli is used to playing now with Spalletti, we do need a target man. So I expect Petagna to start against Verona if Osimhen doesn't. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe he surprises us and plays Mertens. It's all these mind games maybe that he's playing. Will Goulam start next match? No chance. No chance. Goulam didn't even feature today, so I don't think he will start. He got a few minutes last time, but he's a long way away from playing even half an hour, and let alone a full game. So it's going to take some time with Goulam, for sure. For sure. Anyways, guys, that is everything. Thank you so much for joining the live, for the likes. We're already over 100 likes, and I'm not even done with the live. So thank you for your support, and we will see each other on Sunday right after the Verona game. But until then, guys, have a great weekend, and as always, Forza Napoli sempre.